You guys.
The watcher, yes, I know.
More in the-
(6:33). I now call the meeting reconvened at 6:33. Before we begin, does any committee member wish to declare an actual or potential conflict of interest?
Oh, throw it down a mic. We only have one.
Do we have a mic?
It's up
Oh,
there
it's
for
up there.
public comment.
We'll just use this one. It's fine. I'd like to declare a potential conflict as I work for Sedcor and we have a small contract with the city. Oh, yeah, gotcha.
I'd like to declare a potential conflict of interest. My wife works unique works for the museum employee of the city.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so now we have roll call.
Committee member Schwarzler. Here. Committee member Source.
Present.
Committee member Roden is hopefully via Zoom. Committee member Roden, are you there?
Would you mind checking back in periodically?
Okay. There's somebody there, but we don't know who it is.
Okay.
If they don't talk, I'm not sure. Committee member Boisvert.
Here.
Committee member Mark Willis.
Here.
Committee member Morton. Here. Committee member Poor. Here. Chair Garrison.
Here.
Committee member Porter. Here. Committee member Sharman.
Here.
Okay, he's via Zoom. Committee member Seiler. Here. Committee member Paraskevas.
Here.
Committee member Christensen.
Here.
Committee member Parkinen.
Here.
All right, thank you very much. So now we wish to hear public comment on the proposed budget. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in length and remember to state your name and the city of residence for the record. I will call people up in the order that I received the cards. And first I have Stephen Schick.
Good evening, members of the Budget Committee. My name's Stephen Scheck. I reside in Salem, Oregon, but I have a home in the Independence Airport also. I'm here tonight to respond to comments made during your April 29th meeting. On the proposed community services fee, mention was made that the fee and service levy might not accurately represent the community. It was also noted that to date, all community testimony has been supportive of funding the parks, library, museum. A committee member asked that any individuals opposing the proposed fee to testify, hence here I am. No, not to testify against such a fee, I'm for it. Indeed, my family makes multiple monetary donations to the museum and to the library throughout the year. But from conversations with individuals living in Independence that I've had, I believe one reason that the negative vote occurred was that residents didn't feel that they'd been given complete information. During the public information phase prior to the levy vote, a complaint I heard many times was, why couldn't we be given an opportunity to vote separately on parks, on museum, on library? Not all three are of equal importance to all the residents in the town. Further, some expressed annoyance to me that they were only given a take it all or take nothing option in the vote. That perception may still exist because there is no easy way to understand exactly how much it costs to run the library, to run the parks, to run the museum. Please be transparent with the residents about those costs, especially when considering adding a special fee to the monthly utility bills to cover them. On public records requests, The word weaponization was used to describe some public record requests. When making such comments, please explain what activity is being referenced. We frequently hear this term misused in Washington, D.C. for political gain. Let's not do that here in Independence. Is weaponization referring to my wife, Ann Scheck, in a role as Tremor News seeking communication records to determine whether public meeting laws were violated when an ambush-like censure of a fellow city councilor was conducted? Or was it Tremor News attempting to get official comment on the total cost of procuring the property for the future water treatment plant? Or related to the current budget building process, was it confirming the city manager's new compensation package after the council approved the city manager's annual review and pay raise? Indeed, a public records request for this information was submitted and it was declined by the city, stating the city doesn't have to provide that information. But as budget committee members, don't you think you should have such information, especially when considering adding a fee to resident utility bills? In closing, the word transparency is easy to pronounce. Actually, being transparent requires more effort. I sincerely appreciate the work that you all do for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next is Kevin Hamlin.
Hello, I'm here tonight to speak in support of the Independence Library. I'll just say a few words about my experience with it past.
Name.
My name is Kevin Hamlin, and I have been a homeowner in Independence since 2009. I also have owned a business here in town since 2010. In my time in the community, I have seen firsthand many times the library prove itself as a valuable asset. As a parent, I have seen my son grow from positive experiences of the library throughout his childhood, from preschool through kindergarten. Weekly story times are greatly beneficial. They offer social learning and interaction with peers while also fostering a genuine appreciation of reading. As he has gotten older, he looks forward to participating in summer reading programs. Most recently, he has began attending a coding club at the library. This coding club has allowed he and his friends to build a community while also learning skills that can enrich their lives well into their future. Through this club, he has gained an opportunity to participate in a summer STEM camp. I know that he, as well as many other children in our community, have benefited greatly from the library and its programs. Lastly, I'd just like to say that it is my belief that a truly free society is an intellectually free society. And it is my opinion that public libraries are fundamental in allowing Americans to access their rights to educate themselves as they choose, especially when in rural and underserved communities. Thank you for your time and your consideration. Okay.
Thank you. Next, we have Linda Gray.
My name is Linda Gray. I'm leaning to the mic or. Hi, my name is Linda Gray. I live here in Independence and have since 2021. And I am here to speak against the fees that are going to be added to our already out of control water sewer bills. Number one, someone already touched on the voters. The voters said no to paying for the museum, the parks, and the library. So I move on to, are these wants or needs? Because in this economy, that's a big question. I know several people who are struggling to make the rent, to pay their utility bills, and to buy food. And yes, we have a wonderful food bank, but it can only pick up so much slack. And the prices keep rising, the bills keep rising. What are you going to do? In my mind, and I'm sorry, to me, the museum is a want. It is not a need. I understand its significance to this city. I do. But when push comes to shove, It is not a need. The parks. Everybody loves a good park. Unfortunately, we can live without parks. Or in this case, live without maintenance of said parks. Again, is it a want or is it a need? And lastly, the library. This is one I struggle with. I worked in education in Salem Kaiser Public Schools for 24 years teaching special ed to K-5 students. I know how important books are to children. I do. But again, need or want. And I know this doesn't go over well. Monmouth has a wonderful library that could take up the slack until such time that we could afford to have the library open. Or put the library on as a separate issue. I'm for that. But something has to give. Our water bills are out of control as it is. I mean, our water bill for my husband and I, right around the 133 mark. $133 a month. He showers at home 1 day a week because he goes to the courthouse and works out. All I can say is people are at the breaking point. They can't afford more fees. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. All right, next is Connor Goen.
I said I wasn't gonna speak. I'll answer questions though if you want.
Oh,
Who's next?
Oh. Doug Gray.
Name's Doug Gray, live on Adams Street in Independence, Oregon. Served my wife, so I'm not gonna beat those items to death. I got the same opinion she does. My concern is, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, the city of Independence, majority of the people in this town voted down a levy to fund these projects. So now, instead of a tax, we're gonna call it a fee and accomplish the same thing. I'm sorry, you can call it a tax, you can call it a fee, you can call it an orange and apple. It's still a tax. We said no to the tax. So why does the city of Independence, independent of everybody here, think that they can just go out and levy a tax without proper people input? And we've already told you, we don't want it. Second thing I'd like to say is, reading what I saw in the paper is, if you get the money from this fee to fund these, we're gonna go right back to where we were. We're gonna hire more people. Why can't we live with what we have right now? We wanna hire another person in the library. We wanna hire a projects and communication director downtown. Come on, folks. We can't keep adding to something and just keep giving you more money. Doesn't work that way. I hope it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, what I'm seeing is it's working exactly the opposite way. If you can't get something passed by the people, you'll enact your own fee and take care of it that way. I'm in dire opposition to this proposed service fee, and I hope you'll take that into consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, now we have Gabrielle Walton.
My name, address, yeah. I'm Gabrielle Walton, 1345 River Oak Road. I want to start by saying that while I am the current director at the Monmouth Independence Chamber, I am here solely as a resident of Independence, and this has no reflection of the Chamber of Commerce. My family has lived here for over 11 years. My husband has lived here for over 40. He's a fourth generation farm family, and we're raising 5 little boys in this community. The issue that I see is that it's not about whether these services matter, as they absolutely do. This is about how we choose to fund them. Right now, there's a growing perception in our community that voters and taxpayers are not being heard. That concern is not coming just from one voice. It's something that many residents feel. More than 70% of voters rejected the levy. That is a significant majority, and yet you are discussing a mandatory fee that would be placed directly on utility bills, impacting on the very households that we continue to describe as the underserved and financially strained. These are the same families who will feel this the most. We are a two-parent, two-income household raising 5 children. We work hard, we budget carefully, and even for us, an added monthly fee is not insignificant. For many families in this community, especially young families just getting started, it will be harder. We know the average age in this community is around 27. That means that we are a large community for young parents and working families who are coming into adulthood or who have come into adulthood at some of the hardest economic times. That context does matter. My concern is not only the fee itself, but the process. Why are we not going back to voters with a revised levy? Why are we not expanding outreach and bringing in new voices to the conversation, especially to those young families and underrepresented groups? From what has been shared publicly, the ad hoc committee guiding the proposal was not widely open to the community, and that raises an important question about representation and transparency. Who is at the table? Who is speaking for the large families, for the working class households and communities? And how are we ensuring that the full community is reflected in these decisions? Transparency builds trust, and right now many people do not feel that trust. I also want to acknowledge that I understand the city has a real financial challenge. I understand the need for staffing, for legal support, and for long-term planning. Those are real and valid needs, but we are discussing new positions and new expenses while also saying we cannot fund existing services. It creates confusion and concerns for residents trying to make sense of the bigger picture. At the end of the day, I am asking you to please support the things that are important to you, but to slow down, consider re-engaging with the community, revisit a voters supported path, and prioritize both the process and communication, because this community does care deeply and people are paying attention. They just want to feel like their voice matters in the discussion and the directions that impact their lives.
Thank you. Next is Shannon Ball.
Hi, my name is Shannon Ball, and I'm here with my husband, Justin Ball. We've lived here in the community for over 20 years. This is going to be a lot of repetitive information that you've already heard today, but I still want to get my thing on the record. Honestly, I'm saddened I'm even here today speaking with you on this topic of potential fees being added to the water bill. In November of 2024, the voters made their voices very clear. By significant margins, that community voted against adding additional fees specific to these services. Our adult population is roughly 7,900 people, and more than 4,200 residents voted. That's over half of the population in our town. I don't even know if that's the voter population. I just went with the adults in the community. The levy failed by more than 60%. To me, that sends a very clear message from the community. Many people in this community are already feeling the strain of today's cost of living. Right now, households across the community are having to make difficult budget decisions every single day, especially with the gas costs. Most people are left with 2 choices: either find a way to earn more income or reduce spending. Government should be held to that same standard. However, you should not go get more money from the community without the approval of voters first. There are many valid points that can be made on both sides of this issue, but at the end of the day, this comes down to honoring the will of the voters. If there is truly support for this proposal, then let's reevaluate it, restructure it, and bring it back a revised or alternative proposal for the voters to consider on the future ballot, giving the people the opportunity to vote again. Otherwise, we are in a time where difficult financial decisions need to be made. That is part of leadership. Our views do not have to be the same, and healthy disagreement is part of a strong community. But the public deserves a voice, and ultimately the majority should decide, not just a small handful of people today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that was the last of the public comments that I have. Okay. Now we will move on to the budget committee discussions continue. What? Oh, we did receive letters and Myra did put them in the notes, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
they're on the agenda. I emailed them all the budget.
they can be accessed.
Yes.
Chair, we have any other questions?
Yes. So, we had a number of questions come in, and I'm just gonna answer them. In answering this, Chair, with your approval, some of the public comments were perhaps inaccurate or didn't have full information, and I'll just kind of add into the answers that I have, if that's okay.
Please
Yeah.
do.
Okay. One of the questions is, how would the proposed fee work for apartment buildings where meters are on each building? And, divided among tenants by the property management company. So it'll work very much like, well, work exactly like the public safety fee, where it will be charged per unit. So we know which apartment buildings have a number of units, and then we charge them per unit. All right, this is Gerald's, so we got the larger amount last week. I was just reminded. There was a suggestion about sharing with Monmouth or Leaf Pickup. Our Public Works Director did reach out to the Monmouth Public Works Director to see if they could provide that service and what it would cost. We are informed by the Monmouth Public Works Director that they do indeed provide leaf pickup services, and they implemented a stormwater fee to fund the service. That fee is $14.85 per unit, per equivalent unit. I think our fee was $13.94 for the current year, and then we would have to buy the equipment, which would run the fee up to $20.33 a month. And then it could drop back down once the equipment was paid for to $16.52 a month, with 3%. So, relatively equivalent to Monmouth. Okay. So, as we've heard, many people in the community feel strongly that they weighed in on the issue through the levy. Can we explain what's different about the fee structure compared to the levy that was previously considered? So the fee structure, well, first, the levy was proposed as a broader tax measure, and it would have funded a much higher level of service restoration and longer-term operational stability. So it was a much higher amount, and it was put together to stabilize and basically keep the library functioning at a very, very high level. Now, the fee that we have today, we called it life support. That came from the ad hoc community as a matter of fact. And the fee is significantly reduced from the levy, and it is for life support to keep it running at a very reduced operation. Now, what we've done, and this is going to be an answer to a later question as well, so I'll try and keep it short. What we've done over time is we've reduced services significantly, and we've reduced staff significantly. What we realized this last year is we reduced staff too much. So our library, if someone is sick or has a loss in the family and can't be there, they don't have anyone to cover. So we have to send executive staff over to cover. There's not enough people there to run even at the reduced level that we're at. And so we're adding an FTE at a lower wage level than the executives who were going over to make certain that the library could stay open. So we're utilizing assets differently. And Patrick, you can jump in if you need to, if I get this wrong, right? But the fee is not enough to fully restore the staffing levels or rebuild all the programs or address deferred maintenance or any of the other reductions that have occurred. It is simply life support. The second, as you know, the levy was paid for property tax, and this is tied more directly to maintaining those ongoing services. And although it is on the water bill, it is not a water fee. And I need to make this very, very clear. Water, can I talk about buckets, Councilor Gore? Water is in the water bucket. And those water fees are set based upon the amount of capital improvement that we have and the amount of debt in the water fund. So if you look at the water bill, you will see that water is a certain amount and sewer is a certain amount and storm is a certain amount and the public safety fee is a certain amount. It's not all just water. So you can reduce your water use and it's not going to affect your sewer use, but it might affect your storm. So I just want to make that very, very clear. The levy on the ballot. Now, we've heard about that. But what's interesting is we were the first ones to say we're gonna go out for a levy. And then two other organizations put something on the ballot. And historically, voter behavior can be influenced by the overall number and scale of financial measures appearing on that ballot. Particularly during, lower turnout elections or when there are multiple tax levies. And our levy, although on there, it may not necessarily answer this narrower question that we're asking, which is whether residents support a more limited funding approach focused only on maintaining our essential baseline services. So we heard about whether we could have more public input. And I have to say, I'm really pleased that we have so much public input. More of the public input has been for the fee than against the fee. And we need to discuss that too, because Facebook isn't public input. We don't know who's commenting. We don't know if you live in the community. We don't know. We can't assume you live in the community. We don't know. It could be a bot for all we know. But when you come here and you talk to us, when you go to our meetings and you talk to us, when you send an email like the 4 emails, I don't know, 5, however many emails we've received, that's testimony, and that's important. So there needs to be clarity around that conversation. Now, I'm trying to get to one thing. Some suggestions were made to close the library, close the museum, and just wait and start over. And this is the one I'm trying to get to. This question, can you talk about the impacts of why we are trying so hard not to shutter things? And what are the lost opportunity costs if things do get closed? And this is a long one, y'all, so I'm going to try and do my best to summarize. So first, let's talk about opportunity costs, because it's a buzzword a lot of people may not know. In the context of our city services, opportunity cost of closing or cutting programs isn't just the immediate savings. It's the lost future benefits, capacity, and opportunities that disappear because the service was reduced or shut down. So for example, if we eliminate experienced staff positions, the immediate savings can help to balance the budget, but the opportunity cost is losing trained employees, institutional knowledge, and the ability to respond when conditions improve. If a facility closes, the opportunity cost may include lost programming, reduced community activity, decreased economic activity nearby, or the future cost of reopening and repairing the facility. If the maintenance is deferred, the short-term savings creates a longer-term repair cost later. We've already seen that happening at City Hall. If service levels decline too far, then we lose the opportunity for grants, partnerships, development, tourism, business investment, because outside organizations look for stable functioning local services. So when people talk about opportunity costs, they're not talking about things the community may lose indirectly. They are talking about things that the community may lose indirectly and in the future, not just the immediate budget line item. Now, closures create impacts that extend well beyond this year. Once those services are dismantled, it's extremely difficult to put them back together again. And as I said, that's the loss of experienced staff and institutional knowledge. When they leave, when we lose our employees due to uncertainty or service reductions, they move to other positions, they move to other communities, and they don't return. We have to rebuild a workforce later. We have to recruit, we have to onboard, we have to train, we have to certify, we have to rebuild operational knowledge. All of that takes more time and money. And in many cases, restarting the program can cost so much more than just trying to reduce that low level base until things get better. There's also significant remobilization costs with restarting services. If the facility shuts down, it's still going to require maintenance and security, and the deferred maintenance accelerates when you're not using it. So equipment ages out, software systems lapse, and Jason can tell you how expensive it is to get new computers and new software. Contracts expire, operational systems have to be rebuilt. What initially looks like a temporary closure can become much larger and more expensive over time. Now, We're also trying to lose momentum in areas that affect long-term community stability and economic development. So consistent services matter to our businesses, to builders, to partners, on investment decisions. The more we lose as far as our services, then the more we lose in housing development, tourism, grant competitiveness. And the quality of life component, parks, library services, recreation programs, they all build a quality of life that has created the independence we know today. When those systems are reduced too deeply or allowed to fail, the impacts are gradual at first, but compound over time and become much harder to reverse. That's part of the opportunity cost. And that's why this fee is looking at a stabilization, holding the core capacity together. So that those essential systems, our staff expertise, and our service infrastructure remains intact until things get better. And Amanda talked about that at the last meeting. We do expect things to get better. Debt gets paid off. Things get better. This is life support. We talked about staffing levels. One of the questions is, can you explain how staffing levels today compare to previous years? Yeah, boy. Economic development downtown, we reduced by 2 FTE and 1 summer position that was shared with parks. Now, someone had said that we're gonna bring in a downtown person, which we're not. We're repurposing our poor museum director, and she's going to assist in economic development. So we're not adding staff there. Speaking of adding staff, we're not necessarily adding an in-house counsel. What we're doing is we're shifting from external counsel. And by using contract attorneys, they're great. There's nothing wrong with the quality of our attorneys. Nothing. But they're expensive. They're incredibly expensive. And so we're shifting and necessary. And I'll talk about why here in a minute. We're shifting to an in-house model. But back to employees in finance, we reduced by 1 FTE. In museum, we reduced by 1 FTE. In the library, Patrick, how many did we lose in the library?
Library
Positions.
positions we cut. What's correct? The 3 positions.
Okay, so we've had 3 positions in the library, and then a grant fund position, yeah. And then in parks, we no longer have our summer position. And although Gerald isn't here, we've been reducing, we have a contract, company that comes in and does parks, because we only have 1 parks person, only 1. And we've reduced that down and continue to reduce it down until what Gerald told me last time is if we reduce it anymore, they're probably gonna cut us because it's not worth their time to come out and work on it. So we've reduced that back to the in-house attorney. So we're trying to strengthen our legal capacity because we rely so heavy on that outside contract attorney. This was a question I'm answering, by the way. Sorry, you guys. And the internal legal oversight, I've been filling on an interim basis. I mean, I'm an attorney. I've been handling the in-house duties, but our volume and complexity of our current operations is incredible. A lot of that is because of the grants that we do. We are a grant machine. We have built that. We have focused on that. We have focused on that so that we can try to reduce costs across the board. But what that has done is it has forced our internal capacity to beyond what we have. I'm doing 2 jobs. Sean's doing 2 jobs, right? We can't do this anymore. The reason we can't do this anymore is because we have a significant risk exposure. We make legally significant decisions every single day, millions of dollars of legally significant decisions, contracts, employment matters, procurement, land use, public meetings, public records. Oh, we'll talk about public records in a minute. Code enforcement, infrastructure projects, regulatory compliance. And if we don't have a dedicated in-house counsel, I can't consistently handle that because I'm trying to be the city manager, which in itself is complex. And my staff don't want to go out to our external counsel because it's incredibly expensive. That leaves us at risk. An early legal review prevents those disputes, litigation issues that we could have avoided. And it's really important right now because of the number of our federal and state grant funds. They come with extensive compliance obligations. We have a grant manager. He's incredible. He's not an attorney. He's doing grant manager stuff. He is doing all the reporting. But we have to comply with procurement rules, labor standards, environmental requirements, reporting, contracting, auditing. And even unintentional errors can create financial liability, repayment obligations, project delays, and jeopardize our future ability to get grants. The same grants our community has been saying we need to get, we're getting them. But we need to keep them, and we need to not risk them. And then the practical operational concerns. Outside counsel, we may need them for litigation in specialized matters. But to have the highest paid attorneys, which we don't have a choice, working on day-to-day operations is not a good use of our money. And going back to, sorry, I'm trying to go in order here. We've already done a lot of things to try and reduce funding, including combining departments, selling assets, reducing facility hours, park evaluations, event handoffs, and staffing changes. Remember, we changed Indy days off to community. We have combined departments, museum and library. We are in the process of selling the sports park. We have contracts to sell museum, Hope and Ash Park, another property over by Gunflow, I think it is. We have reduced facility hours here at City Hall and at the library and at the Lincoln Museum. And staffing has taken on extra jobs. What more can we do? Shut departments.
Yeah.
There's nothing else we can do. We have no choice. What safeguards exist to ensure that the dollars are used only for the intended purposes? Amanda, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So cities are subject to something called local budget law here in the state of Oregon. There are many governmental entities that are subject to local budget law. And it was developed to provide participation from the community, citizen involvement, such as the budget committee that you see before you. It's comprised of half city councilors and half community members who volunteer their service. It also ensures transparency in the budget document in that we have to budget line by line for each department, all of our revenues and expenditures. And that is something that goes through committee, is recommended to the council, and then the council has to adopt. Now, when that adoption takes place, those funds that were appropriated for those specific expenditures may only be expended by staff on what they were appropriated for. It is actually against the law for us to overexpend. If there are over expenditures, we have to go to council and ask for appropriations. We aren't allowed to do anything that's not out and open in a public meeting and brought before council for approval.
What options does the city have other than fees to try and raise revenue? And which of those are we already doing and or have control over? So we really only, raising revenue in Oregon, we really only have taxes, levies, and fees. Now, there are pieces within those. So we could go and ask for a local gas tax, and that money would then be dedicated to streets. We could try and put together a district, a library district, parks district. That's a completely different district. It's a taxing jurisdiction, which means they will have a tax. So rather than us taxing, it would be the district taxing. So what we have done, as I said, we've reduced expenses and we've maximized our existing revenues. We can't raise the tax rate. It's a permanent tax rate. Measure 550 set that in place. We can't adjust it. We can't increase it for inflation. 3%, that's all the increase. So when inflation is 7%, we get 3%. When it's a 14% increase in health insurance, we get 3%. So the gap widens, right? I think I went through all of this already. Franchise fees. So franchise fees are the fees that agencies like electric pay to utilize our rights of way. Those franchise fees are generally 7% of what the profit on the franchisee. Those are pretty much set. Everybody's are between 5 and 7%. We have maximized those at 7%. There's not much more we can do. Utility rates, that is a separate bucket. Service fees, we've talked about those. Those are the copy fees. Those are the public records request fees. Those are basically set by state, or we work with the state on those. Those are business license fees. We've looked at those. And again, we've been pursuing ways. Going back here. What public reporting would the council and residents receive regarding how the money is spent? I think, Amanda, do you do a quarterly report on finances? So every quarter, a finance director comes out to the council and explains what we're spending money on, why we're spending it, and what it looks like for the future. I have future revenues improved substantially. What flexibility would council have to revisit the fee? The council can revisit the fee when they choose to. And that, I believe, is what I have been hearing, or I heard from the ad hoc committee, is this is life support. The goal is to get it through until it gets better, until some of the debt is paid off and things look better, hold it together. The council can take a look at that and can direct staff to bring it to them, as a matter of fact, to look at that when things do look better, so that they can reduce it if they so choose. So if it gets better, they can reduce it. These two questions I'm going to ask Patrick for, but I'm giving a heads up that I'm going to be talking to him. How much of this challenge is driven by inflation versus revenue limitations? Do you have a good sense of that one, Amanda? Inflation versus revenue limitations? It feels like it's 50-50.
Yeah, it's both.
It's both. So revenue limitations are 5 and 50. We've talked about inflation has been killing us lately. And again, we talked about the 3%. Well, we pay 7% or 12% or whatever inflation is, and we only get 3%. And I don't know how better to answer that. It's about 50-50.
Yeah.
What long-term financial strategies should the city consider exploring beyond this budget cycle? So it's been really nice to work with that ad hoc committee and to talk to the community. The mayor does weekly office hours. She does a lot of feedback, and then we talk about the feedback that she receives. We've taken a lot of that in, and what we do is really long-term. We look at economic development, and that takes years and sometimes decades. We are working really hard to get some of our industrial land ready for industrial businesses, because industrial businesses provide high-paying wages for our community, they provide jobs. And Alan, Commissioner Vasquez could talk about this for days. If we can bring in industry, it's twofold: great jobs, and industry is not restricted by Measure 5 and 50. So their taxes that they pay are 100%, not the reduced amount that is on housing. So we're really working hard to get what land we have available for economic development. As you may recall, we decimated our economic development department. We used to have 4 people, we have one. And in order to afford that one, we moved him for his expertise as well into the assistant city manager position. He has run across funds, so only now a small portion of one. So we've probably got maybe a quarter FTE. So we did contract with Sedport. Again, so now we have 1.25 to do all of the economic development that we need to try and rebuild and create that revenue source. So we're going for economic development. We continue to try to support our current businesses, right? And how do we support them? Right now, it's really hard for businesses. We get that. Well, we want to continue to have the concerts downtown because we know it brings money to our businesses. We learned that through the budget process. We learned that through the conversations that we've had. So we're repurposing our museum director partially to help with that, because we don't have anybody to help with that. We're trying to keep downtown activated. You know, the discussion is, we'll close the museum. Well, then we've got an empty building in the middle of downtown. Doesn't that look great? Right? And
bunch of them down here.
and doesn't that look great? So, you know, we continue to try and support our downtown. But we're already seeing these ramifications, right? So, you know, that's what we're working on. And working on it with reduced staff at the same time. We just hosted a group in Travel Oregon. Do we have a sense of how these amenities affect recruitment tourism? Well, I've already kind of talked about that. It's really interesting. We heard from a company that really wanted to come here, but we didn't have enough industrial land. We heard from them, we love your community. You have a great library, you have a great town, you know, all this wonderful stuff. We just don't have enough industrial land. But that was important to them because their people live here and they want that kind of livability for their people. So it does affect what will come here and why. And then Patrick, I'm gonna have these two for you. What usage trends are we seeing at the library? And do we have a sense of what populations rely most heavily on our services?
Thanks, Manager West. The quick one's easy. Our electronic circulation is going up. Our through the door count per day is currently up. However, our overall for the year is down because once the levy did not pass, we shuttered an extra day. So now we're only open Monday through Thursday. We close those evening hours too. So the populations that we're seeing, to kind of segue into that one, is obviously the people that have the ability to get there during working hours. We're only open 11 till 6. And so if you work somewhere else or work until 5:30, 5, 6 and are making dinner, with the weekends not being there, they've lost access to the library that way. Is that quick and dirty enough for you, or did I miss a part of that question?
I think I got all the questions and I don't see any.
Who does that leave? Who's coming to the library then? We know working families are probably not coming to the library. Who is coming to the library?
Yeah, so we have a lot of the early in life moms, early children and families coming that way. A lot of job help. People are using our computers to type up resumes or search for jobs or do anything like that. So the people that are trying to better themselves or take some courses online, we had, without giving away names and respecting privacy, but we had people doing their HR and IT required trainings at the library just the other day so that they could keep their certification for their nursing degree, things like that. A lot of students after school come. And then, I mean, I just came from Coding Lake, so a bunch of 5th through 8th graders are on my mind right now. But that is because we have about 20 kids each week that show up for that. Our programs have all been really, really well attended with limiting the amount that we've been able to do. The turnout for the demand that we have has been high.
What about seniors?
Seniors, yeah, thank you. We started the chair yoga program. No, so we have a mystery book group that is primarily seniors that attend that, as well as this Get Up and Move yoga program that we just started going on. A lot of retirees will also make the stop throughout the day, visit us.
Those were all of the written questions that I had checked. Thank you for answering all those questions. Really do appreciate that. Helps give us insight on what we want to do moving forward. So the next thing I have on here is just the budget committee discussions continuing. If we don't know further discussions, then we would move on to, I would request motions to approve the different things that we have. We have ones where we need to approve the changes that Amanda requested on those pages. You guys have this page that. And then we have the other three motions that will be.
Those are the charges, that's all of them.
No, I just keep anyone in that discussion on.
Before we do the motion, I just wanted to make a point of saying that at the last budget committee meeting last week, we spent, what, 3.5 hours discussing issues and associated with the budget, primarily the fee. But, and it's unfortunate that the people here tonight weren't there to hear that conversation. We can't restart it. We can't go through that again. But I would hope that they would watch the video and see what the discussion was all about.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge that I know that there are a lot of residents who are very frustrated and feel like they already spoke through the levy when we took that vote. This has been a really difficult decision, I think, for the committee. I think we're very aware that we need to hear from a cross section of the community and that we do have people that are struggling to make ends meet. I know we've discussed, are there potential voucher systems we can put in place? I think we can have those, continue those discussions if there's a way to provide relief when we can, and if there's something that we can implement. And I'm glad we took some time tonight to explain some of these questions that are coming in. I want to touch on the Facebook thing really quickly. By saying that Facebook isn't public record, it isn't an official public record, but I do think that I know several of us scan it as a way of just kind of staying on one of the issues. I know I reached out to several people this last week to hear from them directly and be able to ask some questions, and I appreciate being able to do that. I think Facebook is problematic. It really is based on other people that I talk to. They're not on Facebook, so that we have actually a fairly big segment of the population that is not on Facebook and choose not to be on Facebook. So I think we have to be very cognizant of how and where we hear from people, and then being able to try and make that as equal as we can. But I do want to say that I know there are several of us that are at least checking Facebook, and we do kind of keep track of what some of the comments are in there. So we are hearing things.
I just want to say Councilor Sharpen or Committee Member Sharpen would like to speak with. Get on the list.
Marilyn and I have.
Okay, you're next.
Thank you for coming tonight. It is good to see that there are other opinions than the ones that we've heard. I've certainly seen them on social media, but the mayor and the city manager are right, is that social media is not public comment, and this is the format that we should be using for public comment, and it can be spoken or written. I want to say that I analyzed that fee very, very, very carefully when it was presented. And I did lots of calculations. I did see that the public safety fee that we instituted last year is going down this year. And so when I figured out what the net increase would be with the library, parks, and museum fee, compared to what's going down, it's a net increase of about $12.50 a month. I volunteer in the museum right now. I volunteered for the library before. I'm in the parks all the time, and I see how much all of them are used. I'm also retired, and I decided when I retired that I wanted to devote my time to volunteering. Not that I haven't done a lot of it before then, but I do think that it's important to be in touch with what's happening downtown, what's happening in our community, what's happening in our parks. And someone mentioned that there were a lot of empty buildings, and yes, you're right, there are. It is something that we can't change. We can't change the economy that's coming, if you will, trickle down to us, and the inflation rate is not looking very good, and the possibility of renting property downtown is expensive, and it's not looking very good. But we can volunteer to be in the midst of the public and support the businesses that are there, and to support the activities that are going on. And if you want any information on how to volunteer, I'm happy to share.
Sharman Goodman. And I think that the person that's the iPhone, which I'm hoping is Roden, would like to talk, but I don't know who it is yet.
All right, is it me now?
Yep, your turn.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to say that too. I want to thank people for coming out and speaking today. I know for the last couple of weeks we've only heard people in favor of the fee, and I know how difficult it can be to come down there and speak out against something like this, especially when it feels like it falls on deaf ears. I want people to know that it doesn't. We do hear you. And we've got to make the best decisions we can with the information available. So with that in mind, I have some questions for the city manager that will hopefully help us make a more sound decision. City Manager West, how much time do you currently invest in legal issues at the city right now?
So we were not tracking how much time I invest because it was just something that I did. What finance director Harry and I did is I think we decided 35%, but that is a relative, that's a very conservative and I'm gonna say randomish number. Just because I wasn't tracking how many hours I was doing. It's just a lot. And it, as we talked about in the last meeting, it's causing significant delays because it gets shoved off to the side as I'm trying to do my city manager job. And there's a significant number of legal projects that have not been done because I don't have the capacity to do it. So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer.
No, I appreciate that. Can I also get a clear breakdown of what specifically this fee is going to cover? Like, is it going to cover adding that part-time position that will handle the downtown community events? Is it going specifically to funding the library? Like, what specifically? Just so we have a clear picture.
So the fees are presented in the budget into their respective departments. So the fees will directly support the operations of said fund. So community services portion of their fee is budgeted to be a revenue source for that fund and offsets the expenses in that department. Same with parks. It works the same way that the public safety fee works, where that one goes directly to the police department.
But in answer to the question, no, that part-time person is funded through the tourism and events fund, not through the fee.
Okay, thank you. And one of the concerns that I know people have in the community is one fee has led to another fee. What I know you mentioned earlier that as debt gets paid off, the need for fees may be reduced. Do we have any kind of estimate on how long this is going to continue? Fee now for a couple of years, fee later for a couple of years. They do seem to be increasing in amounts. So when can we see the end of this?
So I would love to say that we have a crystal ball and I can tell you exactly when that's going to be. And pre-COVID, I probably would have taken a shot at a guess. But what COVID taught me is that I can't guess because I don't know what's going to happen. What I can tell you is that you do have debt that's falling off in the next 3 to 5 years. And finance director is over here. I know you probably can't see her, but she's over here looking at me going quite a bit and nodding her head. So what we believe is 3 to 5 years, we should be able to take a good hard look at this. And I'm going to say that I am guessing that the council will direct us to do so. I can never ever speak for my council, but I'm gonna guess that. So 3 to 5, with 3 being probable.
Okay. Yeah, it does. And just one final question. Sorry, everybody. How do we currently handle downtown events without that position being filled? The community, yeah.
Very poorly.
Wait now.
No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Okay, so in multiple ways. We've been leaning since we removed, well, since we started removing the positions, because remember, we started removing these positions four years ago, I think it was 4 years ago. Is when we removed the first position from, economic development in downtown. So we started, when we removed the first position, we took those duties and we incorporated them into the remaining people and then kind of shopped them around to other staff, increasing the responsibilities on those other staff. And then when we reduced down again, we did the same thing and we started leaning heavily on our volunteer organizations, including AYA. And then when we continued to not have enough capacity, that's when we started asking about shifting Independence Days off of our plate because we simply could not effectively run it. And that was a big discussion last year. And so we've been shifting things off in order to try and keep them going. And now it's just the bare minimum of the downtown events that we're handling. The concert series is a significant one. If I recall, we have 2,000 to 4,000 people in attendance, and that really helps our downtown businesses. So what we were doing last year is our assistant city manager and other executive staff were actually showing up and handling the gate. And again, we're utilizing heavily utilized staff to do that. So when I say very poorly, it's because we were using assets we shouldn't have been using in order to keep it going. One thing to note is in order to keep it going and to have this assistant, we've recommended an increase in that fee, which we discussed previously. So the amount for folks to get into the concerts is going to increase. And that is to pay for the bands and help to make sure that those concerts can.
Okay, and just one final question. And thank you again. How much will we still have to pay for contracted out legal services after we hire a in-house attorney?
That is an absolute guess. No idea. We could go from getting nothing to getting sued by somebody who bangs their knees on a tree, right? So I have no idea. And I can't even guess, and I apologize for that. Because when the attorneys have specialties, we're all good at a number of things, but some of us are better at one thing than another. When we go out, we're going to look for an attorney that has the skills that we need, but they may not be a litigator. And so if we do get sued, we will need a litigator. We don't usually get sued, but it does happen. And so it could be zero, it could be 20,000, it could be more. It's just going to depend. I apologize. I don't have a strong answer for you.
That's okay. I just want to apologize to everybody for not physically being there today. I didn't want to get anybody sick. So thank you again for answering the questions, and I appreciate it.
We get Counselor Rubin on the list too. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. So I really want to quickly address the talking point around the levy. I think it's really important for the public to hear that we really did hear what they're saying. And if this was the exact same proposal, I'd be the first to say heck no, because I do believe the voters said something. Now, I don't think that the voters all agree on what they said. I talked to a lot of voters that were really frustrated that only property tax owners would be paying for that levy and not people who didn't own property who paid for it, who just rented. I talked to property owners who wanted to support 2 out of the 3. You know, I've talked to a number of people who all had different perspectives on why the levy should be supported. One of the things I think is favorable about fee approach than the levy approach is we can be far more targeted and specific. And more people will pay, so it's more equitable across. Yeah, that's right. I mean, everyone would pay. So I think that's an important note to consider. Lastly, I think it's important for people to hear. So the average age of independence, and we've talked about this in budget committee a number of times. The average age of independence is 29 years old. And the people in our community who are working people who maybe can't make it to these meetings to come and yell at council, which is everyone's right. If you're a taxpayer in this community, you have a right to address your council. But there are a number of folks in our community who can't make it to these meetings. And when I go to a park in our community, or I go to the library, or I go to the museum, I think you see the community reflected there. It's a great equalizer to have access to public spaces. And it's something that, you know, was a priority of mine when I chose to buy my house here, my forever home here. And it's something that I know is consistent with a lot of the working families that live in this community and choose to make home. So I know there are some people in our community who choose not to access the library, and God bless them, that's their choice. You know, I don't have children right now, so I don't use the schools, but I still think it's very important to fund the schools, right? So I think there are things that we agree to when we live in a society or we live in a community. And lastly, I would say that, you know, we get the government that we pay for and the services that we pay for. And I think it's important for people to consider what will happen to our property values if we don't have parks, or we don't have a library, or we don't have opportunities for young people to gather and build community. Because once you lose those things, A, like the city manager said, it's hard to bring back, but B, people lose interest in moving here, and therefore our property values drop. So those are things that I think I've been really pondering the last 4 weeks as we've been taking this journey together. Thank you.
Road, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So here's the frustrating part is I've been really frustrated and upset with the potential of losing our library and dealing with the amazing things Patrick does and Leanne does and Robin does, everybody that works at the library. I love our museum, I love our parks. And so what the city manager has done, and maybe unintentionally, but I think what we and Patrick kind of really cleared it up last week when he spoke to us, is we're not right now at risk of losing our library. We're at risk of increasing staff in our library or maintaining what we have right now. So people are so scared right now that we are closing down our library if we don't pass this budget. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is we maintain the budget as is, and we have to struggle in our library for a few years until we can pay off those debts, which several have a 27-28 deadline. We pay off those debts, then we can start building up our library again. But the people voted. They said they didn't want to pay these fees. And you guys can try to argue that, oh, you know, I'm going to interpret what they said differently. We have to listen to what they said. They don't want these fees. And if we don't approve this budget tonight, we're not going to lose our library. We're just going to maintain it at its current levels. So we have to stop scaring people that the library is going to close next week if we don't fund this budget. That's not what's going to happen. What we're going to do is all of us are going to have to tighten our belts and work a little harder, get more grants, get more things in our community so that we can still be successful in our library. Patrick came up and spoke about all the amazing things that the library is doing with its current budget. We all have to sacrifice right now. People in our community, I think it's absolutely hilarious that we don't want to look at what people are saying on Facebook, but we're supposed to be happy when the city manager's 60-second council gets 8 views. People are speaking a lot about our vote was, we don't want to pay these extra fees. The city keeps talking about how the city budget is unmanageable right now. Everything's increasing. Well, it's increasing for people at home too. And so I brought up the suggestion, okay, let's go ahead and have these fees, but let's reduce it. You guys blew me off. You're just like, okay, we're not Dallas, so we're not even going to consider it. Well, let's consider it a little harder, please, because people are communicating loud and clear. They don't want these fees. And we need to stop scaring people that the library is going to close if we don't pass it, because that is just not true. That is just not true. And everywhere in our budget, we're increasing. I mean, we have a city manager. I sometimes feel like she thinks she's running Salem. We're a small community, and now we have a city manager and a 4-day community.
You look at the same budget that all of us looked at?
Sounds like it.
No, she didn't.
Oh, yeah, she did.
No. Okay, we're gonna.
I'm not done. I'm not done. Are you just gonna interrupt me? I didn't interrupt anybody else, and I let everybody else speak. We have a city manager who needed.
Well, I would like to talk about the budget, but I won't listen to you.
It is about the budget. It is about the budget. It's because the city manager says she can't get the job done. Fine. Then blow me off, because that's what people in the community feel like you're doing too.
Number that you would like to say, because we have the budget for the library. And we have the amount of the fee, and that covers that amount. So
it covers adding an additional employee.
No, that is the budget of the actual department.
Yes, it is.
I don't know if you don't know how to read the budget, but that's what that budget he presented to us was.
Oh,
okay.
See, that was rude. That was rude. That was rude. I've been factual, and now you've been rude.
No, I am being factual.
But city member. Not this. Budget committee wrote in, we're gonna have the finance director respond so that you can understand the way the budget was written.
I understand how the budget's written. I read it.
So the finance director will explain it. If you go ahead, finance director Carrie.
So our library and museum are reflected in our community services budget. And the top portion is all of the sources that help support that development. We have intergovernmental revenue of 67,500. Miscellaneous revenues of 5,000, and then the fee revenue, which is 548,000. So that comes to a total of $620,000 approximately for revenue to help support those services. Now, the cost to run those services is quite a bit higher. We're looking at $690,000 altogether just in salaries and benefits, and then 23,000 miscellaneous expenses, travel, 58,000 for supplies, 58,000 operations. The fee does not even fully support the operations. It does cover a substantial portion, but it doesn't even fully fund it. And this is something, if we eliminate this fee revenue, we will have no choice but to close that service.
I think that's maybe a clarifying that we have the budget presented with the fee. If that fee disappears, it's a completely different.
It is. Yes. So we have the fee, or the budget, excuse me, presented with the fees incorporated. Now, if we pull that out, that is an entirely different budget.
The question I was gonna ask was specifically that question, which is what would the budget look like absent the fee? what revenue would be used, or where would we have to find a revenue source to fund it? And I would suspect, and I'm somewhat rhetorical, we'd have to go to the general fund and look at the other activities we fund there. And I'm looking at a police officer who just walked in. Sorry, sir, as you are an object lesson. We would have to find those funds if we wanted to keep the library at current service level, no more, no less. I have lived in this community for 8 years. I've been to the library 5 times because I can't go there. I am a working family who can't go there. So we're not adding back, but that revenue would have to come from the other general fund services, and that is police. So if we are willing to have a conversation about reducing services in the police department, and I think many heard my feelings about that last week, that's the source we have to go to. And so I would suggest the same is true with the parks. Many of the events we've talked about tonight that bring revenue into our downtown are the parks. If we do not have services to maintain the parks, where are those events going to occur?
The bars.
Indie days, concerts.
And again, we projected $390,000 in revenue for the parks fee. And the total cost of operating our parks is $514,000. So again, these fees, they don't fully fund these services, but they do help supplement so that it takes some of that burden off of the rest of the general fund, so we can continue operations.
And I think me personally, we're having a conversation about needs. I think we need libraries. I think we need parks. I have small children who rely on those parks for activities. I know my neighbors have small children who rely on those parks for activities. As pointed out several times in the course of this discussion and others about the median average income in this community and who we are. Where are those families gonna go? What are they gonna do for recreation? What are the kids who show up at the library gonna be doing? Is there any other coding? There is extreme value in these resources in our community. And I will say, and I reiterated last week, I need those services. So I'm leaving this community to go find those services that this community doesn't seem to want to invest in. And that's really difficult for me to say because I have grown up in this community. But I'm not going to be alone if this is the path we continue to go down.
Are there?
Okay. So, next was the number that you has left the area. Is there any other comments right now?
I think we should wait for committee member Christensen to return.
You want to take a recess? Why don't we take a 10-minute break? We'll reconvene at 8 o'clock. All right. It's back on.
We're back on too.
And we're recording. Wonderful. Christensen, you want to, okay, Christensen? Or,
Yeah, go ahead. It looks like Dana's got a hand raised, so I don't know if you want.
okay, so I do have Christensen say something. I would like to say a few little things and then we'll go to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry for that. Unforeseen interruption. I just wanted to say a quick word to my fellow committee members. This is something I take pretty seriously, given my background is working for the National Guard and being an officer, and taking an oath to support the Constitution and the whole process that we're here doing. I just wanted to let everybody know that this process that we're doing is not marked as petty tyrants. This is a democratic process. We have elected officials in the room, the city council, who all voted as well to appoint every member of this committee. And they have to go up for re-election. And as part of the representative, the democratic constitutional republic systems of laws and order that we have. So nobody here in this room should feel like they're doing something that's taking away rights, or it's not being democratic, or again, we're being petty tyrants, because we're not. Now, just because the actions that we take here are 3 or 4 steps removed from a direct, full democratic, populist election, doesn't mean it's less democratic. So I just want to put that out there. I hope nobody's feeling like they're feeling bad, that they're doing something that's going against somebody's wishes. Like I told Dana last week we were here with accusations of bias, whatever. That's what politics is actioned bias. It's bias moving towards a goal. And we have to work it out with a bunch of competing biases and competing goals, competing methods. So I hope nobody feels guilty about being biased or not being democratic or something. Please, you're not. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Building kind of on that, we do elect our counselors and they do appoint us committee members. They try, I believe, the reason I was told I was asked to be on here is because I enjoy working on numbers and I can understand budgets very well. I enjoy this process. I know there's people that likes it. But the reason I like budgets and numbers so much is because they are unbiased and they are a reflection of what is actually happening within a community. If you know how to read them, you can see what's going on and where things are going and how things are growing. So with this budget, we do have the fee to balance it, and that is a balanced budget that we have. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's great. But I do know that we voted to not have a fee or a tax. And so I thought a lot about this. And I do understand that the fee is different than the tax. It's different. And I don't think that I would be okay with the tax, but I am okay with this fee for a couple different reasons. And I want to state the facts. We have 7 of our long-term debts that are going off within the next 6 years. That's a significant amount of our debt services. And I think with the current management we have, that we will not be incurring a lot more debt. So this really is a stopgap fee. It is not meant to be forever and ever and grow every single year. Because we are going to be in a better position in 5 years. And I can see that with these numbers. I can see the trend that we're doing. And then we have, so I have to weigh the cost of closing those and just living with it for 5 years till we get those paid off. So you take that cost compared with the cost of the fee and the cost to the people and the cost of loss of education and inclusiveness. And for me, it balances out to have the fee based on the numbers and data that we have in front of us. So now you know why I see it and how I see it and my insight of it. Okay. Now who's next after me?
Dana and Rhoda both.
Okay.
Dana.
Dana.
Okay, thank you. I just want to address the accusations of bias, I guess. I want to be clear. I didn't accuse anybody of bias. This has come up 3 times in the last week towards me, and I think there was some misunderstanding in that aspect. I'm saying, gosh, and I can't remember the term right now. It might have been confirmation bias, but I was just saying that the process is inherently biased, or selection bias. That's the word I'm looking for. When we poll certain people who come from a certain sect of the community, it's automatically biased. It's not, I'm not accusing anybody of bias in that aspect. That said, one of the principles that our country was founded on was freedom. And I hate to go super dramatic with this right now, but because obviously this is a much smaller issue than the whole Constitution of the United States. But it's something that we all need to take into consideration. For every dollar that we take out of the pockets of citizens to fund the library, that's a dollar they can't spend on books. That's a dollar they can't spend on education for their children. That's a dollar taken from their pockets. So we really have two systems here. We can either fund it through social services, or we can provide money to individuals to fund things themselves. So we really do need to take that in consideration, because we have been talking about this from sort of a one-sided perspective. Do we need the library and things like that? Obviously, my stance has been, libraries, museums, and parks, they all contribute to the overall appeal of a city. Yes, they increase property values. They attract better businesses. There's 100 reasons why having these services are beneficial to our community, and I do understand that. The only real concern I had was the run-on progression of fees, because I said this back in 2024 or 2025, can't remember which, but when the public safety fee was initiated, I knew that the increased costs of the police force was going to lead to more needs for fees, because that it jumped from, $3.8 million up to $4.5 million. Now we don't have enough money to fund the parks because we shifted funds over there. And we often approach this sort of stuff in our discussions as, like, this fee's only going towards this thing. It's like, well, no, because we took money from that thing to fund the police, and now we don't have enough money for that thing. I'm saying this in really simple terms so that anybody listening can understand. So yeah, and a perfect example of this, I was just looking at the parks budget. It's increased from $380,000 this year to $514,000 in the proposed 26-27 budget. Now, if we're selling a park, and you can correct me on that, but last I checked, we were selling a park. Well, with increased costs of $130,000, roughly 26% on a year where we're losing a park, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I was hoping you could at least somebody could explain that, City Manager West, why those costs are increasing, and I hope everybody can take in my thoughts here into consideration.
Thank you. I can address that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to flip to that page real quick so I have the numbers in front of me. But this was something that was addressed by Director Fisher when he presented the Public Works funds for his budget presentation. Because we were able to budget including the park fee, we were able to bring back some of that, again, the deferred maintenance and the equipment repair and replacement that we have been putting off for quite some time. And so the plan with some of that was to be able to replace benches, replace equipment, things that we have just let sit unrepaired when we had no funds to do so. Yeah, and these are things that community members have been complaining about, and we have not been able to address up to this point unless we have the fee to help fund this service.
Do we have specifics there, though? I mean, I've heard a lot about deferred maintenance over the last couple of weeks. Like, what deferred maintenance? Just so we can all hear.
So I, unfortunately, because the question wasn't asked when Director Fisher was here, we don't have his list. I'm trying to remember, and so I'm gonna ask that you not quote me, and if anyone else remembers, please yell out, but if I recall, we had some play equipment in one of the places that is decrepit, and we've been getting complaints that it's dangerous, that are gonna be replaced. There are some benches that have been broken and vandalized that are gonna be replaced. And I think there's some other equipment in 2 or 3 other parks that have been either vandalized or damaged and need to be replaced. And no, these are.
Bathrooms.
Oh, bathrooms.
Bathrooms.
Were big ones.
Graffiti and stuff.
The graffiti from the bathrooms, thank you.
Yeah, that was the jump in the building.
Yeah, that was the big jump in the building. Anything else I'm forgetting? I know there's more. If he were here, he could answer you in an instant. Yeah, play equipment. A lot of it, again, we had deferred, and we've been getting significant complaints. In fact, we've been getting significant complaints from community members and council members and pretty much everybody. So we're trying to fix what we can.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, I know this is the budget meeting most people are going to listen to out of all of them. So I just wanted to be able to provide people specifics for what their money's going towards and how it's going to benefit them. So thank you.
Roden. Counselor Roden, you can go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess City Manager West, maybe you can answer this question for me. I don't understand how, and I appreciate what Amy Christensen does for our museum. And I know whatever work we put her involved in, she's going to do an amazing job. I have nothing against her personally. I think she's an amazing worker and does great for our city. But how can committee member Christensen, whose financial dependency upon this budget passing, that's an inherent bias and conflict of interest that he's even supporting this budget and voting on this budget. How can that not be a direct conflict of interest?
Unfortunately, we don't have in-house counsel to answer that. And that's not my role. What I can tell you is you've asked that question multiple times, and I believe OGAC has answered it. And I believe that that everything is being handled as OGAC has recommended. That is what I can give you.
Yeah, I mean, you want to report me again, Don? You can. I mean, the Ethics Commission's already gone through this.
I've never reported you to begin with, so
Okay.
don't accuse me of things. I can, thank you. I don't need you to tell me what I can and cannot say.
So
I'm not telling you to say anything. I know who reported to you.
So that's the answer that we have. I believe OGAC has approved and we're following OGAC's recommendation.
Then you declared it before the meeting. I declared it. It's not an actual conflict of interest.
Are benefiting from the finance for this budget passing, or your family won't have an income. How can that not be a conflict of interest?
Same, yeah, well, I mean, we all live in this community, so in reality, everyone could say that they
I don't get a paycheck from the city of Independence.
If we were to make a
I'm going to use a legal term, asked and answered. Councilor Roden, you raised this every meeting, and it's been answered by the Oregon Governmental Ethics Commission. They've answered this. I can't give you the answer you want. I can only give you the answer that OGAC gave us. We are going with what OGAC tells us. That's all I can give you. And you can argue till you're blue in the face. That is your right, but I cannot give you what you want. I can only give you what OGAC tells us.
Thank you. All right, we are moving on to the next person side, and then it's Jessica.
It was just, I have spoken already.
Okay.
I would.
Well, first of all, let me say, Chair Garrison, I appreciate you sharing your opinion. Not that any of us have the obligation to do so. But I do appreciate that you shared that, and I also want to share my opinion on this too. I moved to this community to start my family here because everything that I've seen about this community has shown an interest in hearing the community members' views with our vision planning, with all of the surveys that we've done, with all the boots on the ground. I mean, you would only have to even think the word volunteer and committee member Morton will show up at your door with plenty of opportunities for you to get involved. So I really do believe that everything that this community has done is really with an eye on investing in this community and how can we improve our situation for our future collectively. Committee member Sharman, not picking on you, I promise, but something that you said, you know, every dollar that we ask a family to spend on a book, a library, is a dollar that they cannot spend on a book or for their own child's education. But if you think about the collective impact and how many children that one book can reach in a library versus the one book sitting on a shelf in your living room, there is a much greater collective impact when we invest in this community. I work full-time with youth in this community. They are majority high risk, majority have, or all of them have dropped out of high school for different reasons. And I can tell you that with working with these students, I know that there are fewer and fewer jobs in this community where youth can work. There are fewer places where they can go and exist. Even some targets around the country don't let teenagers in unsupervised anymore. We have fewer and fewer places for young people to exist. And if we do not support the places for them to be and to exist and to nurture their education and to nurture healthy social connections, then they are at greater risk of falling the other way. We have a responsibility, whether we have kids or not. I do have a child, but whether we have kids or not, we all share in that collective responsibility to support our youth in this community. So I do support this fee. I do think that everybody should pay it, and not just property tax owners. And I really appreciate all of the work that the city has tried to do to get the community feedback. And City Manager West, I think you do a great job, and I know you take a lot of heat, but from being on this committee for 8 years and seeing how much this has changed and how things did not used to be the way that they were, and a lot of things have improved and a lot of things have been cleaned up, and we have stopped taking on, you know, excessive debt. And we have a really great staff in our city that has really led that to make sure that we are moving in a better direction. And we are all going through difficult times that are out of our control. But I do believe that the steps that we're taking in this city and our community are really pushing us to be in a better position in the future. So thank you very much for all the work that you do.
You know, Pete was next after, because you don't want Aaron, as you don't, Pete was next.
Thank you for that. And actually, this ties on nicely with what Commissioner Porter was just saying. When I joined city council or was elected to city council, I learned a lot. I think probably we can all say that, whether you join budget or some other committee or whatever it is, we learn a lot about perceptions of how things work versus all of a sudden seeing behind the scenes and how things work, and the mandates that we have from the state and the limitations that we're working in and trying to make all of this balance. So it is hard work. It is complicated. And I appreciate kudos to committee member Sharman. I think really learned, I think demonstrated that, right? Dana, not to put words in your mouth, but I mean, you kind of said as much that, you know, this process, we learned a lot about how things work, and it does give everyone a better perspective of the difficulties of making this kind of fit together. I've been talking with the community a lot and reaching out to people that don't share the same thoughts I do, because I genuinely want to hear from them on what their concerns are. One thing that I keep hearing over and over, and they're not wrong, is going back to decisions that were made 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and we're seeing this debt that we are still carrying. I do want to commend City Manager West and other people on city staff who have been working very, very, very hard to clean this up and put us on a better path. And to not be taking on more of these interfund loan transfers, to be able to say, hey, our debt is actually going to roll off and not just get kind of reworked somehow. So it is really hard. We have to be very diligent about following this plan. And I do believe that we are following this plan. And if we continue doing that, we will start seeing some relief with that. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating for community members to be like, but this, this is what happened. And it's like, it happened from decisions that were made 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and that we're still living with. These are long-term decisions that hopefully we are now on a better path, but they don't clear up overnight. And then we add these other challenges from the state or inflation or whatever it is, that's life. Things are always going to happen. It's a lot to try to balance. And so I commend the work that the committee is doing, staff is doing to bring these thoughtful budgets to us so that we can hopefully make some more headway and put our city in a better place while still maintaining the level of services that we can feel proud about.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to segue off Mayor to say. I've sat here too with Jessica for 8 years and watched the evolution of this budget process, of this budget, of this general fund. And the work that the city manager team have done to be thoughtful and intentional in how we not only have approached cuts, we've been very strategic, recognizing there will be a tomorrow, and we need to be ready for that tomorrow. But in their very conservative approach to spending, this is a good budget. This puts us on a path. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to be fun for the next maybe 3 to 5 years. But there is a light. The debt, yes, is absolutely a tangible contributor back to the general fund. But the efforts in the economic development space is really where this will turn our tide. And Sean, who's not here tonight, hope you're listening someplace, Sean. Everywhere you look, everybody knows Sean. Everybody regards him with such high esteem throughout the community of the economic development community. I do not doubt his capabilities to bring in and help expand the businesses living here. What we would do, our part, is to help him be ready for that. And it's not just about industrial land. It's not just about wetlands and roadways. It's about livability. What we're talking about tonight in these fees is about livability. People want to live in this community if they see a vibrant downtown, if they see parks and people in those parks. You can have parks with grass up to your head and no one's there. No one wants that. They want to see families there. They want to see people there in the libraries. That's what will help turn that tide. So these conversation about, it goes hand in hand. You cannot have that long-term future of economic development, of industrial land, of bringing businesses in if you don't also bring along with it the community livability aspect. So as much as I sit here and go, I need the library for my kids, and I do, we need the library for our economic stability in the long run as well. And so this is a pathway to success. And I applaud city manager. I have sat here too and listened to unnecessary criticism be levied her way. And unkind words, and in my world, unkind is the harshest thing you can say. Unkind words. She takes it and she holds it and she does not respond in a way a more different environment would otherwise allow. So I have a great amount of respect for that. I chaired the ad hoc committee, so I think it's fair to say I support the fee. I think it's important to say again, as was said last week, the intention of the fee and the intentionality behind those who serve with me and those who are not here tonight is a stopgap. If we do not do this, we do lose the library. and it doesn't come back. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. It sets an opportunity for if anybody wants to have a long-term conversation about a levy, let's start it right here. It is a process. Let's start that community conversation now, if that's the direction we want to move into. And that's why we didn't recommend a levy, because it is a long-term community conversation. Criticism we've heard tonight, criticism we've heard in the past, is not enough people were talked to, we did not engage enough. We can fix that. So let's have that conversation, and let's right the wrongs that have been levied about the previous levy and see what happens. But this gives time for that. If we do it, or if you all do it and it doesn't pass, well, that's a story to tell. People have told you what they want, and then everybody can look themselves and be like, I'm not guessing about anybody's intentionality in their vote. Voting is complex. How anybody votes on one measure is, unless you have asked every one of those 7,000 voters what their intentionality is, please don't infer anything from it. Yes, they voted no, but for a variety of reasons. I think we all know that. And so part of that ad hoc process was to give space for all of the process, community conversations, and long-term look that I think people want. And I think the review process is a very deliberative part of that recommendation, was to have a consistent ongoing opportunity for the city council to look at that. Is it necessary at its current rate? Can we reduce it? Are these other things coming to fruition? We want that transparency and that opportunity. And so I hope that fee goes away. And I think it's fortuitous that a certain representative is in the room. And I'm gonna say, this is where I put my marker right down here on the table. That we come back and look at that fee 2 years from now and see where we're at. See what it means to have this debt fall off. See where we've progressed with SEDCOR and our other partnerships. See where we have progressed with team grants. And use this as a market time. And while I may not be here as a resident, I still will be a contributor to the Libraries Foundation. I believe in this community. I have friends who live in this community. We will still be wanting to see the best for it. I only hope to leave this community a little bit better and say I contributed some part of this. And I think me sitting here saying this fee helps. It makes a difference. And if it talks about advocating for my friends and neighbors, I was right up the street here, so lower income renter community, and I watch my family, my friends and neighbors go to the park, take their kids to the library, get on that trolley, use the services that we collectively provide. That I undeniably believe that if we didn't have my neighborhood would look very different, and not in a good way. And so it is a collective responsibility. It is the social good that we all commit to when we enter into any society, that we give a little, take a little. We take on things we don't necessarily enjoy or maybe never take advantage of. We know we're getting something over here. And that is what this is.
And Bill.
Charmin's on the list here.
This is my 8th budget. The years under a different city manager were confusing, and it was very difficult to explain our budget to residents with a straight face. When we hired city manager Wes, I stressed that to her. I don't understand what we're doing. I can't explain it to residents. We need to do something about this, and she did. She and our previous finance director heard all our concerns. Today, our budget is so much easier to understand and explain. It's been an iterative process, and I expect more and more changes for the better in the future. I do support the fee because I want a community that serves everyone. I support economic development so we can raise the revenue that various measures have restrained. In my last 8 years, this is the first year we have talked about paying off debt. That's a huge huge thing for us to hear this time. All of this is due to City Manager West's leadership. She is a fiscal conservative, but more importantly, she follows the rules. And she has been adamant about correcting past mistakes. Previous cities managers didn't even talk about that. I want everybody to remember that we, as budget committee members, will pay this fee too. I've been unemployed for 2 years and I don't have any disposable income. I'm stopping doing something to make the funds available for the fee because I think it's that important. And finally, I appreciate Chair Garrison, who sat in the staff meetings when the budget was created along with Councilor Martin Willis. And she came to us at the first meeting and said every single department head came to that meeting with the lowest possible budget they could come up with. There are no hidden agendas here. There are no elephants that aren't being addressed in the room. Our staff is uniquely professional and responsible. Many of them live in this community. Jason's moved away. I don't hold that against them, but I do a little bit. These are professionals. They know what they're doing. When they set a budget up, they're doing it to support their function, their mission. If any of them have employees, they're doing it for that as well. City Manager West mentioned earlier, we have plenty of departments that have one person in them. And I don't know how they get their jobs done. I truly don't. And I thank City Manager West for trying to correct that. We do need, I know people get very upset when they hear we're adding staff, but we need more staff. We have a lot of work to do and we can't do it all with what we have. I mean, we have one person in city planning. If that person ever got hit by a bus, I don't know what we would do. I don't know what the city would do. No paperwork would get handled. So I commend the staff and Finance Director Carey has jumped right into the mix and has been very transparent with us about what's going on with the budget. I feel more comfortable with this budget than I have the previous 7. And I think it's only going to get better.
Let him win the lottery, not get hit by it.
Sorry.
Let him win the lottery, not get hit by it.
I was just gonna. I was just gonna say too, when you are talking about repaying debt stuff from the past and past city managers and everything, I just want to remind everybody that, you know, the past is just a snapshot of that time when all the community members were there making the best decisions they could with the budget they had, the economics that they had at that time and everything. So just remember that. Because it's just like today, you know, everybody here is doing the best they can. We're all members of the community. Nobody here is getting paid except for the staff. And what we have here tonight is a budget that's been prepared by competent people that care, and that's important.
And we'll say something else, like on that. That's a good point of past, because this is from pre-COVID, a lot of this, and that did change a lot of different things. I know that changed our landscape downtown, some of our businesses, and like you say, you can't tell the future because you don't know if there's going to be another one of those. So we don't know what could happen in the future, but we do know that our plan is solid and we have staff that will hopefully be able to pivot if we need to.
Committee member Sharman, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to say, I believe it was committee member Garrison earlier said this, that the city's on a better path. I have to agree with that. Given what I've seen of the budgets over the last couple of years, you know, both as a budget committee member and as a community member in the past, things are getting better. You know, some of the decisions we made in 2015 that a lot of people, including myself, are upset about, we're recovering from that. We are finally moving past that, and our city is moving to a better path. You know, I want to say I'm a bit of a libertarian, not that it matters here, but I want the government out of my life. I don't want to pay any fees. I don't want any sort of issues with that sort of thing. You know, let me be free. Let me live my life. I don't want to pay for anything. But I find myself in the same position as last year, where it makes sense. The fee makes sense, you know, because everybody's right. You can't just close the library and then reopen it back up. it's not that simple, and everybody knows that. I mean, even people who are opposed to the fee, you know that. Uh, it given that, and given that we have a plan to get out from under all these obligations and debts and fees within 3 to 5 years, I know that's not solid, but I would love to hold City Manager West to that. Let's get away from that. And if that's the timeline, I think we can all tighten our belts a little bit more and keep these services alive for the next 50 years instead of worrying about what's happening to us right now. And I want to say I made $7,000 last year. That's it. And I pay utilities in this town just like everybody else does, as well as all the other household bills that come in here. It's not an easy decision for me, both financially and with my political beliefs, so to speak. But it just objectively, putting my own emotions aside, my own opinion aside, looking just at the numbers and the state of the city and what's best for the city, I do find myself needing to support this fee against my own will. And gosh, I hate it. I hate it. I hate that. I really do hate that. But it's objectively the correct thing to do in this situation. It's objectively the best long-term solution for our city. It wouldn't be if it continues to be the solution for the city, but given it's a short time frame, things are balancing out. The city is definitely on a better path. As committee member Seiler said, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're heading out. We're finally recovering, it sounds like, in a sense. So yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know I hate it, but it makes the most sense given the circumstances. So thank you.
Right. I think that we have heard from her. I see no more cones on top of Aaron. Okay. All right. So, these are the things that I need is because I'm reading the room correctly. I need an amendment that will say, I move to amend the proposed budget to reduce the water fund, that can be called it. Yes. I will read it and then you can say if you want to propose that budget. Reduce the water fund capital expense WTP by $67,702 and increase water fund contingencies by $67,702 to reduce the sewer fund capital expense by $80,378 and increase sewer fund contingency by $20,378 and reduce the storm drain fund capital expense by $30,337 and increase the contingency by $30,037. Those are the errors or the adjustments that need to be made because they weren't in our packet correctly. So somebody has to make a motion, that motion that I read.
So moved.
Okay.
Okay,
Who's second? Porter.
Oh.
Or someone was over there.
Someone second.
You're moved, I'm second, you're second, okay.
Okay. Discussion. Let's do a vote.
Committee member Schwarzler? Aye. Committee member Source?
Aye.
Committee member Roden?
Aye.
Committee member Boisvert?
Aye.
Committee member Martin Willis?
Aye.
Committee member Morton?
Aye.
Committee member Core?
Aye.
Chair Garrison?
Aye.
Committee member Porter?
Aye.
Committee member Sherman?
Aye.
Committee member Seiler?
Aye.
Committee member Paraskevas?
Aye.
Committee member Christensen?
Aye.
Committee member Karkinen?
Aye.
Yes, the amendment is approved.
Thank you. Mara, can I do the next three as one or we have to do individually?
I think they each have to be one.
One, okay.
Somebody else has them.
I have.
If they want to read it. well.
Okay. If we are ready to approve the budget, 3 motions would be in order.
I move to approve the city independence budget for FY 26-27 as amended.
Second.
Right. Discussion. No, hearing none, we'll move on to voting.
Committee member Karkinen?
Aye.
Committee member Christensen?
Aye.
Committee member Paraskevas?
Aye.
Committee Member Siler. Aye. Committee Member Sherman.
Aye.
Committee Member Porter.
Aye.
Committee Member Core.
Aye.
Committee Member Morton. Aye. Committee Member Martin Willis.
Aye.
Committee Member Boisvert.
Aye.
Committee Member Roden.
Oppose.
Committee Member Source.
Aye.
Committee Member Schwarzler. Aye.
The motion carries, so we will move on to the next one. The next one is, to levy the taxes.
I move to approve the levying of the city's full tax rate of is that a period?
Period. $4.
$4.
4.5897.
$4.5897 per $1,000 assessed value.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to.
Committee Member Schwarzler.
Aye.
Committee Member Source.
Aye.
Committee Member Roden.
Aye.
Committee Member Boisvert.
Aye.
Committee Member Martin Willis.
Aye.
Committee Member Morton. Aye. Committee Member Core. Aye. Chair Garrison. Aye. Committee Member Porter. Aye. Committee Member Sherman.
Aye.
Committee Member Siler. Aye. Committee Member Praskavas.
Aye.
Committee Member Christensen.
Aye.
Committee Member Karkinen.
Aye.
Okay, one more.
Motion carries. I have a third one. I need one to impose city taxes. Approve the city imposed taxes.
I move to approve that the city impose taxes in the amount of $385,425 for general obligation bonds.
Second.
For
Aye.
the second.
Yes.
Discussion?
Is this
Hearing none.
just the, is this
What?
just the increase? I'm sorry, is this just the increase of the 3% of property taxes?
It's the general obligation bonds. We have to approve the tax amount each year.
These are the bonds that were put in place many years ago and 2013 bonds.
Did
Thank
that
you.
Answer your question.
That-
Thank you.
That answers my.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right. Move to voting.
Committee Member Schwarzler.
Aye.
Committee Member Source.
Aye.
Committee Member Roden.
Aye.
Committee Member Boisvert.
Aye.
Committee Member Martin Willis.
Aye.
Committee Member Morton. Aye. Committee Member Core.
Aye.
Chair Garrison.
Aye.
Committee Member Porter.
Aye.
Committee Member Sherman.
Aye.
Committee Member Siler. Aye. Committee Member Praskavas.
Aye.
Committee Member Christensen.
Aye.
Committee Member Karkinen.
Aye.
All right, thank you, motion carries. Okay, so we approved the budget, so I just want to say thank you for all of you guys' hard work and for the public for coming and speaking and giving us feedback on their thoughts and their concerns. I think that we're in a really good spot and I'm really excited. I know we're gonna be 3 to 5 years, actually 7 years. So with that being said, we would need to adjourn this.
So
But before we adjourn, may I just ask a question?
Yes.
Are we still planning on doing intermittent meetings between now and next budget cycle?
Like the reasons we had prior,
Hasn't talked about it.
the round tables.
I thought that was already decided to do that.
Oh, okay.
I think the feedback was that people enjoyed it. I think that gave the budget committee some time to get comfortable with the budget and kind of know what was coming. And then and also give you feedback. I do believe that we did discuss a few things when you were planning the budget about, the round table, so it would be helpful. So yes, we would like to continue that.
Okay, thank you.
For all of us.
Perk of a chair.
All right, thank you very much. So I still need a motion.
I tried.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, well, let's do the vote.
Committee member Karkinen,
Aye.
committee member Christensen,
Aye.
committee member Peresca.
Aye.
Committee member Seiler.
Aye.
Committee member Sherman.
Aye.
Committee member Porter.
Aye.
Chair Garrison. Aye. Committee member Ford.
Aye.
Committee member Morton.
Aye.
Committee member Martin Willis.
Aye.
Committee member Boisvert.
Aye.
Committee member Roden.
Aye.
Committee member Source.
Aye.
And committee member Schwartzler. Aye.